Let's talk to Cindy in Belgium. It says you need help with a theist argument against deductive and inductive arguments. Is that correct?
Hey, Cindy.
Guys, hi. So yeah, I guess Jenna and I we know each other. So I don't know if you recognize me, but anyway, I have a channel talking about critical thinking. I've been educating myself on this subject for the last I don't know 6 years. If everything goes well, I should be able to teach it in a few months. And lately, I've had a debate with two theists, and they didn't seem to understand the difference between inductive and deductive argument. And when I explained that basically the strength of the premises is the difference between the two, they didn't seem to agree. And
I don't agree.
You don't agree?
No, it's not about the strength of the premises. Deductive reasoning and inductive reasoning, the strength of the premises aren't there. It's an entirely different process. Then a deductive argument is like a strict logical syllogism where there's premise one, premise two, conclusion, where the conclusion is directly, that's why it's called direct reasoning, directly derived from the premises. Inductive reasoning is, so there's deductive, inductive, and abductive. And abductive is arguing towards the best explanation. And for that, you would need candidate explanations. But inductive reasoning is what science does. It begins with observations and then begins to describe the best model that is consistent with those information. At no point is it making any proclamation about truth, but it's not just about the strength of the premises, because you can have a deductive argument with flawed premises and then you just throw the argument out. I might have misunderstood though, because so the thing is, with a deductive argument, if the premises are accepted, the conclusion has to be accepted. We know for a fact that true premises in a deductive argument necessarily lead to a true conclusion. Deductive arguments lead to essentially maximal certainty. An inductive argument is not certain at all. It is probable. It is basically an argument that this is the most reasonable understanding given the available evidence, but it's not about certainty.
Yeah, I think it's a difference of perspective, because the way I see it, deductive argument, by the way, I based my understanding mostly on one of the books you recommended, the Concise Introduction to Logic.
Yeah.
And it says that a deductive argument, you have two premises, one conclusion. If the premises are true, then the conclusion has to be accepted. It is impossible for the conclusion to be false if the premises are true.
Right.
And in an inductive argument, it is unlikely for the conclusion to be true if the premises are false, if the premises are true. So
no. Inductive argument allows for the possibility that there's no certainty that the conclusion is true. But the inductive process is the thing, not the premises. The individual premises are irrelevant, because in every argument, you begin with the assumption that if these premises are true, what does that tell us about the conclusion? And in deductive arguments, it tells us the conclusion must be true as well. In an inductive argument, it's about really the conclusion is probably true, but it could still be false. And you can do that because how am I best to explain this? There's no requirement that logic talk about true premises. Essentially, if you accept premise one and premise two in a deductive logic of valid structure, if you accept them, then you must accept the conclusion or you're being irrational. It is possible in an inductive argument to accept the premises and not accept the conclusion because you don't think that the argument vies for a particularly strong conclusion, because inductive arguments, the conclusion is not necessarily true. But I don't know, if you and I reading the same book aren't making any headway here, why are you bothering to have a conversation with theists about the difference between deductive and inductive arguments? It's not like they have either deductive or inductive arguments. They have at best abductive arguments and really poor ones.
I was debunking the Kalam cosmological argument, and regularly
Why?
theists tend to.
So the Kalam cosmological argument doesn't need to be debunked. It could be completely true, and it doesn't tell us anything about a God. The Kalam cosmological argument does not contain God in its premises or otherwise. It's a deductive argument that if you accept the premises, you should accept the conclusion. But the conclusion of the Kalam is, therefore, the universe has a cause. It doesn't tell you what the cause is.
True, but the premises are not true. Well, they can't be proven to be true.
I agree. The premises for the Kalam, by the way, is everything that begins to exist has a cause for its existence, which is dubious. Then the second premise is the universe began to exist, which is dubious. And then the conclusion is, therefore, the universe had a cause for its existence. The thing is, it's dubious from start to finish. But even if we were to accept it, that wouldn't tell us anything about the cause, about whether it's a God or not. So people using Kalam as an argument for God still have all of their work in front of them, even after their weak ass abductive argument.
Sure. Well, can I go to my question then?
Yeah.
So the answer I had was, if you go to the most deductive argument example given, which is all men are mortal, Socrates is a man, therefore Socrates is mortal. He said, well, you cannot prove that Socrates was a man. You cannot.
No. Okay, this is easy, Cindy. You are wasting your time with someone who does not understand.
Yeah, I am.
Because
I know, but
so here, this is easy. So that is the most straightforward. You're right. That is probably the most famous deductive argument ever. All men are mortal. Socrates is a man. Therefore, Socrates is moral. If the person you're talking to comes back and says, you can't prove Socrates is a man, they're not talking about the argument or the structure at all. They're rejecting a premise. And anybody can reject premises all day long. I can say, as one of my premises for the argument is that underwear gnomes are real. Well, that doesn't mean they are. And if somebody rejects it, they reject it. But if somebody rejects the notion that Socrates is a man, they're a special kind of confused and uninformed, because no one is saying there's actually a Socrates that is actually a man. I could have a dog named Socrates, which doesn't change the fact the Socrates in your hypothetical argument is a man. You are declaring it to be so. The person you're talking to has no capacity to understand things in the abstract. And that's where the problem is. And there's a lot of people who don't have that capacity to understand things in the abstract.
I didn't either. I had to stop it. Well, why would I go there?
Yeah.
I would say, why? Why think about
if you
that?
present a sample syllogism. So really what you should probably do is replace everything in the syllogism. Instead of going, all men are created mortal, you should say all X's are Y's. J is an X, therefore J is also a Y. And now when you present that exact same syllogism, which is fundamentally identical to the Socrates one, the person coming back to you should, if they say, well, you can't prove that J is an X, now you know you're dealing with someone who cannot deal in the abstract, and they will never understand a logical argument. They just...
Well, I don't know about never.
If you can't understand the abstract, then how that has to be understood in order to understand the argument.
Well, so personally, I didn't spend a lot of time thinking about the abstract, and that's why I couldn't. But I had to practice. I had to expose myself, and so
right. But true. I'm not suggesting that because someone doesn't currently understand the abstract that they will never understand the abstract. I should not have even hinted at that. What I'm saying is, if you keep coming to them with the abstract and they keep objecting to that, there's nothing else to do other than teach them how to understand the abstract.
Yeah. Does that help, Cindy?
Yeah, thank you very much. And I'm very, very happy for you, Jenna. I'm going through the same process. So
yay!
He's trying to adopt.
It goes well.
Yeah.
It's going to be a little bit more complicated for me, but yeah, hope it goes very well for you. And I'll see you later.
I'm waiting for Jenna to start the Atheist Moms podcast.
Oh, that's a good idea. I might have to do some kind of blogging or something.
Keep track of everything, even if you don't put it up publicly. Because I watched a really cool video yesterday, and it was someone who essentially they're 20 years old, and their family started taking pictures of them at consistent intervals. And so they have pictures on a timeline. It's like an 18-minute video.
Ah,
No sound, no nothing. Just here's a picture of them, not necessarily every day, but at frequent intervals for 20 years. And it was really compelling because you could see not only the physical changes of a baby and the face getting longer and the eye color changing and, the hair and this other stuff. And, oh my gosh, here they are when they, they've got some spots on their face, so they're entering, teenage, and they've got, acne and whatever else. And then there would occasionally you'd have a picture where it was obvious that they were just sobbing, did not want to be taking that picture, but it was over, and it was like click, 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 and it's great. I wish, like, if I was to have a kid tomorrow, I would definitely do that and 20 other things just like it.
right. With the technology that we have today, growing up, it's like you have this scrapbook that you go through like once every couple of years, right? But now we have so many ways to log. We have so many portals. This is just
holy
awesome.
crap. Do you realize, Jenna, that we have 5 calls on hold, all of them are theists, and there's 8 minutes left in the show?
Jesus, we need this show.
Apologies to whoever we don't get to, but we're gonna do our best to try to get to as many as you can in the last few minutes.